So, imagine the following situation. You're sitting at home, relaxing after hard days of work. And all of a sudden, a police officer walks into your home. Unannounced, mind you. And the next thing you know, you're getting shot. And then you die. Sounds a bit fucked up, especially since you don't really expect a police officer and you haven't really done anything to provoke such an action. Now here's the question, how does it happen? According to the police officer in question, which in this case would be Dallas police officer Amber Guyger, she accidentally walked into the wrong apartment and thought that the individual in question whom she shot was in fact intruding. She saw her door being jagged wide open and she entered. There was no lights inside, but she did see a figure rummaging about, or so she tells it. She tried to make this figure comply with her demands of just, making sure that this wasn't a danger to her own safety. However, the figure in question didn't reply, or rather didn't comply, and as a result she shot him. As it turns out, this him was a Botham Jean, who lived, according to her testimony and according to official sources, an apartment above her. However, it turns out that she was at this very apartment. Accidentally, she must have confused these two. Now, there are a whole lot of questions that come up when you really think about this for just longer than 2 seconds. And one of them is, how do you confuse your flat with someone else's? Now, I am an understanding individual, so to speak. I can sort of understand when you miss a flight of stairs, or you just walk up one more than you actually did normally, or maybe took an elevator one level too high. Perfectly understandable. However, at the very moment you arrive at the door and you see someone else's name tag right next to it, you should be suspicious of you being at the right place where you wanted to be. Your intended destination wasn't reached, good sir, or in this case lady, and you're talking bullshit. Quite out bullshit. There's nothing true to your story, I would say. Specifically since we have ear witnesses who heard not any sort of speeches about compliance. No, you were knocking on somebody's door demanding to be let in. So at this moment you must have already known that you were at the wrong door. So I'm suspecting one of 3 things at work here. First of all, not necessarily probable, but a possibility nonetheless, especially in this day and age, we got police brutality. Specifically since the individual in question who was killed is a African-American gentleman. Second one, our police officers was on drugs, either alcohol or who knows what. It's not an impossibility, but nothing was mentioned in the article I read, so I guess it's not necessarily the case, though one could assume, I mean it's a bit of a conspiratorial way of thinking, that she might have been covered in this regard, because it looks very bad for the Dallas Police Department if it turns out that their best people have been taking drugs, or if she even was someone's best person. Third of all, what was the third one? She was really confused, but I'm not actually sure. The third one would imply quite a few things that just don't add up. Well, let's just go to it. There are holes within her testimony besides the ear witnesses. We have, first of all, somebody else saying that the doors in this apartment complex are doors which do not just stay open on by themselves. They have a tendency of shutting automatically after a few seconds, There are certain doors that are weighted in this kind of way so that they are not left standing open once you enter.
False. For example, that door being ajar, those doors close automatically unless Botham propped it open. Because he was expecting a guest or something, and I'm not making up excuses, it wouldn't have been open.
So this door should have been closed unless something heavy was blocking its closing pattern, so to speak. So that's a whole lot of bullshit, man. And yeah, we have this. Then it's an electrical key which coincides with the door which you're using it. So assuming that she somehow managed to get us access to this not her apartment, how would she have done this? No way, unless he would have let her in, or he would have at least opened the door for her, which would then include her definitely knowing that this is not her apartment. If he were to, let's just assume this, because this was what she was assuming, if he were to have burgled her, let me just get behind this. Why on earth would you, as a burglar, leave the door fuck wide open for everybody to assume that, somebody's in there who probably shouldn't be in there. A normal house owner would just leave his door shut. Well, why would you do that? You wouldn't, unless the door was shut, and he who was residing there was obviously the normal resident, as it presumably was, which, once again, makes it even more confusing as to how precisely she assumes that this story was going to fly. I mean, yes, of course, she's a police officer, and technically speaking, she could take in a few favours, but this is the dumbest testimony ever. I mean, yeah, the worst thing about all of this is obviously that the victim in question is now dead. And my condolences to the family, and also my condolences to anybody who had endured this amazingly dumb speech that she had given as a testimony. But wow, just how precisely does this even work? She still hasn't been sentenced, which in my opinion is like a sign that, you know, as always, police officers in the US are a bit crooked, so to speak. Still, it is definitely an outrageous little story. Well, I don't have a clue as to what the fuck I'm supposed to think about this. It just doesn't add up on any front whatsoever. You don't just confuse somebody else's apartment for your own. You enter, and the moment you enter, you already see shit around you, which would indicate somebody else's taste, somebody else's decoration, somebody else's everything. It smells differently, it feels differently, and good lord. I'm just happy, and this I truly am happy of, that the individual in question, the police officer, hold a second, I forgot her name again, Amber Guyger, that she is now on trial and she's hopefully going to get convicted. I still don't know what she was, or why she was doing this, but I'm pretty sure if she was lying her ass off, that, well, she must have had a really bad motive, and this motive is going to lead to her being set behind bars. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good life without getting shot randomly in your own apartment by a police officer who may or may have not been on drugs, or who may not been a racist. We don't know just yet.